Welcome to the all viewers and well-wishers of the world. The purpose of my lecture is learn the knowledge from the word and return the knowledge to the world. The motto of my life is learn, earn and return. I have learned a lot, earned a lot, now to return a lot to the world. The topic of today is albinism. Albinism, by definition, is the definitions of the albinism vary. There are very too many definition of albinism. It is clear and precise for humans and other mammals. As majority of the mammals have one pigment, melanin, a person or animal with pale skin, white hair or fur, and pink eyes were born with absence of pigment melanin in eyes, skin, hair, scales, or feathers refer only to the pigment melanin. Some believe color of the eye is the main characteristic of albinism on which we can just define it precisely. A good diagnostic feature to distinguish leucistic and albino individuals. Currently, 7 types of the human albinism, most of which do not have red or pink pupils, are defined. Now, here one can see clearly the albinism, the white hair, the white skin, and the pink eyes, and the other eyebrows, and everything which need melanin are white and without the melanin. So the absence of the melanin is the main feature on which the definition of albinism trusts and relies. Now the term partial albino is sometimes used, a common misnomer. This is not possible since albinism affects the whole body. It is just like saying that someone is partially pregnant. Pregnancy is always full, not partial. Partial albino include neural crust disorders such as paludism, Waardenburg syndrome, or vitiligo. And I have already described this paludism and Waardenburg syndrome in my previous lectures. Albinism from the Latin albus meaning white. The albumin is also white, so the albus is the other name of albumin also in some literature. Hereditary condition with absence of the pigment in eyes, skin and hair particularly. Absence of the pigment does not include an absence of the structural colors. So here one can see the albinism, the white hairs, the white eyelashes, the white mustaches and the beard, and the pink eyes and the color of the pigment absence in the eyes also. And here again one can appreciate the white hair, the white eyebrows and the white skin. These are the feature of these albinos. Now, a clear definition is congenital absence of any pigmentation or coloration in a person, resulting in white hair and pink eyes in mammals. There is variation in the severity of the depigmentation and associated abnormalities. These differences depend on particular gene affected. Most types of the oculocutaneous albinisms are inherited in X-linked and autosomal recessive pattern. Remember, autosomal recessive pattern, not dominant pattern. Melanin also plays a role in development of the optic nerves, so the people with the albinism have the VM problem also because of the involvement of the optic nerve that is affecting the development dependent on melanin. no cure for the albinism, people can take steps to protect their skin and eyes and to maximize their vision by having some sportive measure, but there is no permanent cure for that. Here one can see and understand the albinism. There are the parents that the father is having X and Y and the mother is having X and X. And here is the X gene, red in color, and here is the good gene, as one can see, the green color, and here is the normal gene for dad, that is the blue genes. So one can see the gene green is okay and the gene blue is okay, but the X gene red in color, that is present in the female, that is having the problem. So here one can see the affected person is having this X gene from the mother and the Y gene from the father. So this male is affected. But here this the person is having the X gene from the mother and the Y gene from the father, and that is unaffected. Now this person is having the X gene from the mother and but the X gene, the other from the father, which is a healthy gene. So this is just carrier because this female carries the X gene which can be given to its offspring as this X gene, and that can have the problem in the recessive manner. Now this is just getting the X gene, healthy gene from the father, and the X gene from the mother, which is unaffected. So the kid is unaffected. So the chromosome with this gene affected X is responsible for causing the problem as carrier or the affected person. Similarly, here we can also see the autosomal recessive inheritance pattern. The mom is a carrier with one working gene and the other is non-working gene, that is X, and this is the working gene which is not having the problem. Similarly, dad is also a carrier and having one good gene and the one defective gene. So here one can see if this kid is having these two genes, one good from the father and one good from the mother, that is the child does not have any kind of problem and contains, it's not a carrier even. Here one can see the kid is having one gene from the father which is normal and the other gene from the mother, that is one good gene from the mother and the bad gene from the father. So the children do not have the problem, but the kid is carrier and can transfer the problem to his offspring. Similarly here, the good gene from the dad and the bad gene from the mother, and again he is a carrier and can have the problem. But here, the bad luck kid that has inherited this non-working or the bad gene from the father and also the non-working and the bad gene from the mother. So this kid is affected and this kid has the condition of albinism, and those who have one gene from the mother or from the father, they are the carrier, and in their next generation they can have the problem, and here is the healthy child having the no problem. So keeping in mind this non-working gene, if that is both from the parents, is responsible for causing the albinism. Otherwise the children do have this gene but they are the carrier. Now, mechanism and frequency, melanin is an organic pigment that produces color seen in mammals. Melanin has several functions which are disrupted by the albinism. Melanin comes in two colors. One is eumelanin, that is dark brown and black, and pheomelanin, which is light reddish tan and blonde. The dark and the light melanin influence there alone or in conjunction or in combination, making plain or multicolored coats. A condition called agouti, they make multicolored individual hairs. Here one can see the skin color. The skin color is due to mainly the pigment melanin made by the melanocyte in the epidermis. As we know, there are two types of melanin, and I already told you. The eumelanin comes in brown and black, and the pheomelanin, that is pinkish red. So this is the eumelanin dark, and this is the pheomelanin, which is pinkish to brown. And agouti, the blonde hair, that one can see that it have got the eumelanin and it have got the pheomelanin. So here the non-agouti, the color of the hair is same, and here the color of the hair is disrupted at these 2 points, and that is the characteristic of agouti or the bandit hair. That is because of the abnormal melanin deposition in the hair. Now, mechanism and frequency. Melanin is produced in melanocytes involving enzyme tyrosinase. Mammals have a gene TYR that codes for the presence of the tyrosinase in the cells. If this gene is altered or damaged, melanin cannot be produced and the mammal becomes an albino. Several genes provide instructions for making one or several proteins involved in the production of the melanin. Albinism is caused by a mutation in one of these genes. Different types of the albinism occur based on which gene mutation caused the disorder. So the different genes contribute in making the melanin, and if one of the gene is disturbed, there is problem causing the albinism. Mutation result in no melanin at all or the reduced melanin. So here one can see the unaffected carrier father having no problem and unaffected carrier mother having the no problem. But they do have that one gene in their chromosomes, and that is the maternal gene. One can see that is the defective, and that is the dominant gene, the blue gene, and the affected gene is the red in color here in father, and here it is in mother. So these two pink or the red genes are responsible for causing the albinism. Now you just see the offspring that is having this green or blue gene or the chromosome, one from the father and the other from the mother, and the person is unaffected child. And here the girl is having one gene X defective from the mother and unaffected the normal gene from the father, and that kid is not affected, but this kid is affected carrier and can transmit to its offspring. Similarly, one can see the good gene X, the bad gene X and the good gene blue from the parents, and here the bad luck kid that is having the two affected genes pink, one from the father and one from the mother, and this is the affected child. Similarly, if you do try to understand here, that here is that is the bad chromosome and that is the bad in the mother and the bad in the father. So blue from here and blue from here no problem. And here the blue from the father and the red defective from the mother is a carrier. Again, this is the one, the bad from the father and the good from the mother is again unaffected and carrier. And here the two bad chromosome, one from the mother and one from the father, this is the affected and the albino as it is here. So I think it is very easy to understand now that what is the actual autosomal recessive pattern. Now, other genes can also cause albinism because other hormones and proteins are involved in melanin production. All genetic traits for the albinism are recessive traits. Their influence is hidden when paired with the stronger traits, and they are just not present the problem, but they are the carrier now. For recessive albino trait, offspring must inherit a recessive gene from both parents, as I have already shown you, then become albinos. It has been claimed that albinism can occur due to many reasons aside from the inheritance. There are other certain factors which can lead to the inheritance, like genetic mutation, diet, living condition, age, disease, or the injury. They are the risk factor and the contributor in albinism. This is contrary to the definition where the condition is inherited. It has been said that that the ones who love you will never leave you, even if there are 100 reasons to give up. They will find one reason to hold on. So to keep the friendship, there is always one reason, and that is the mutual love and the mutual respect for one another. And there is no so many reasons to leave. The one reason is sufficient to keep the bond alive. Now, genes involved in the pigmentation, these are the tyrosinase found on the chromosome 11, P gene found on chromosome 15, dopachrome lactomerase, TRP, TRP2 at chromosome 13, DHICA oxidase, TRP1 at chromosome 9, then Hermansky Pudlak syndrome, HPS, chromosome 10, and the ocular albinism, OI1, at chromosome X. Now, the symptoms of the albino, a person with the albinism have the problems in skin, hair, eyes, and other social and emotional challenges. The first, we are going to describe the skin, mostly very light colored skin, skin coloring, the pigmentation from white to the brown, depending upon the melanin, eumelanin or pheomelanin. With exposure to the sun, some people may develop freckles, moles with or without pigment, pink colored, large freckle like spot, that is lentiginous, sunburn and inability to tan, and reduced production from the sunlight in albino. Melanin protects skin from ultraviolet radiation and sunlight, and melanosomes block the harmful electromagnetic radiation from the sun. I have already uploaded the lecture on the freckles and lentiginous so one can differentiate between the albinism and lentiginous and freckles. So here albinism color plates, the different kind of the colors that can be seen in case of the albinism, and these are the pattern of the different color as one can see here. The color of the hairs, that is, and the color of the skin, that is and these are the different patterns which are seen here in the albino. The hair, these colors range from the very white to the brown. The people of the African and the Asian descent may have yellow, reddish or the brown hair color. Hair color darkens by age due to the strain from exposure to the normal minerals in water and the environment in which the person do live. The next is eyes. Abnormal eye development and the appearance. Melanin functions normally in various parts of the eye, that is iris, retina, eye muscle and the optic nerve. Melanin absence can cause abnormal development of the eyes, so the problems in focusing and the depth perception is there. Eyelashes and eyebrows are often pale. Eye color depends on the amount of the melanin in iris. A lot of melanin gives brown eyes. Less melanin gives the green eyes. Little or no melanin in the stroma of the iris gives the blue eyes. So one can have the ocular albinism, the eye lacks melanin pigment, skin and hair appear normal or slightly light, and here common symptom of the ocular albinism, that is one can see the difficulty in problem, the reduced vision, and person is not able to focus and not enough sharpness of the eye vision, and the eye glass and the eye is not able to protect the entering of the strong sun rays into the eye, and that causes the difficulty for a person to just adjust in the focusing. The eyes lack of pigment in the colored part of the eyes, irises make the irises translucent, so the irises cannot block light entering the eyes, so the eyes appear red. Sensitivity to the bright light, photophobia is there. There are crossed eyes, the strabismus is there. Rapid involuntary eye movement, nystagmus is there. Abnormal culture of the cornea or the lens inside the eye, astigmatism is there. Vision problem, extreme nearsightedness or the farsightedness or the blindness is seen. It affects learning, employment, and the ability to drive in the common life, as one can see the different colors of the irises in the different people. One can appreciate the different color, the brown, the blue, the green, the yellow, and other. And here one can see the problem in the eye in albinism, that is the light rays are falling on the fovea area for the sharp vision, not well developed, and this nerve signals from the eye follow the unusual route to the brain. That is also because the optical is not properly developed. And here one can see the iris which is having the lack of pigment, and stray light enters through the iris which is normally not allowed by the iris because of the pigment melanin here, and that does not permit the stray light entering through the iris. As the stray light goes into the through the iris into the retina, falling on this fovea and the other points of the retina, that gives the wrong nerve signals from the eye because of lack of melanin. Now, social and emotional challenges, people experience discrimination. The reaction of the other people have a negative impact on the people with albinism. The common people tease these people just because of their color of the skin and the hairs. And the people with albinism experience bullying, teasing, or the probing about, fighting with the people unnecessarily because of their abnormal color of the body and the hair. Their appearance, IVR or the visual aid devices, they look different from their family members. They feel like outsiders or treated like outsiders and the strangers. These experience social isolation, poor self esteem, and the stress.